name is Sherrie Ebyam. I will be your MC this afternoon. I'm associated with the American Association of University Women. We are one of 3 sponsors for this forum. The other 2 sponsors that I'd like to thank are the Little Lake Grange and the Mendocino Women's Political Coalition, also known as MWPC. I would like to start by saying some thank yous because there were a lot of people that participated in putting this together. And this is in no particular order. I'd like to thank Mike Burgess from KLLG Radio. I'd like to thank Terrence Vaughn. He's from Mendocino TV. He is video recording this. The video can be seen at www.mendocinotv.com. Also video recording this is our Andy Wright and Al Rosen. Their recording can be seen on Public Access TV, Channel 3 on Comcast, or you can go to YouTube or Vimeo and type in Willits Community Television in order to bring the video up. I'd like to thank Dave Knutson, who is doing the sound for our forum. A big thank you to Jeremy Whitaker for setting up this room. A lot of sweat involved in doing that. Taking questions from the audience. Ann McGlinty, and we'll be doing that if you have cards that you picked up from the audience. And Emmy Good? Emmy Good will be wandering around. Okay. And here, organizing the questions at this table, to my right, to your left, are Carlin Diamond and Judy Burtis. Our timer is Carol Orton. And so with that, let's begin. So our second panel is for our County Superintendent of Schools. We have 2 candidates. Candidates will be asked to give a 2-minute opening statement. We will follow those in the same format of having 1 minute to respond to each question for each candidate. We will alternate which candidate responds. So if you responded first to the question, the next question you would respond second. And then we will close with a 1.5-minute closing statement from each candidate. So our opening statement, Bryan Barrett.
Thank you. I would like to thank the AAUW and the MWPC and the Little Lake Grange for putting on today's forum. I've lived in Mendocino County since 1965. I'm married. My wife was born in Willits. I was just told I could not say the year. I know the county well. I have over 25 years of experience in education, including teaching at elementary level and being a principal at elementary and secondary schools in Ukiah Unified and Kelseyville Unified. I've held the position of Assistant Superintendent for Educational Services in Ukiah Unified, Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources in Ukiah Unified, and I have small school experience and large school experience. My priorities as superintendent are 1, improve teacher credentialing. We need programs to get local people credentialed. Number 2, improved academic performance in reading and math. Our countywide test scores show over half of our students are below grade level. Number 3, improved attendance. We need to get kids in seats. And 4, school safety, where kids and parents deserve to know that they and their students are in a safe place to learn. I have successful experience and positive relationships with people I work with. I'm endorsed by Ukiah Teachers Association, the CSEA from Ukiah, Anderson Valley CSEA, and the Teachers Association of Anderson Valley. I'm also endorsed by Deb Cuban, Superintendent of Ukiah Unified, Ray Chadwick, Retired Superintendent of Ukiah Unified, Becky Walker, Superintendent of Fort Bragg Unified, and Paul Tishinen, Retired Superintendent of Mendocino County Office of Education. And I do want to say thank you, Paul, for coming. I know it's your anniversary today, so that's the sacrifices you make. But I am Bryan Barrett, and I'm running for Mendocino County Superintendent of Schools.
And our second candidate is Michelle Hutchins.
Thank you. Experience matters. As a current Mendocino School District Superintendent, I was driven to take on the risks of running a campaign in order to provide a fluid transition for the county office. District superintendents deliberate about and influence county office and school issues and decisions. The experience I gained through participation in the Superintendent's Council, with superintendents sharing issues over multiple years, provides an unparalleled knowledge base and fulfills a prerequisite to this position. After talking with the other superintendents and realizing none of them desired to run for this office, I decided to run. The majority of school districts in this county are small and remote. I currently work outside the county seat in a small remote district. My previous work experience in Eureka City Schools brought me similar knowledge as my opponent, the knowledge of working in the largest district located in the county seat. My past and current work and life experiences allows me to understand the needs of all school districts in Mendocino County. During my 24 years in education, I served as an art and technology teacher, director of adult and alternative programs, Humboldt State University instructor, principal, and superintendent of schools at 2 rural districts. When elected, I plan to confront chronic absenteeism by forming a countywide attendance board and teen courts. I plan to decentralize services to overcome Mendocino's geographic challenges, assist local school boards in developing effective governance structures, and inspire a culture of innovation for effective problem solving in all districts. I have attended every forum in the 3rd District Supervisors to learn the issues unique to the 3rd District. I have experience inserting the youth voice into community solutions. Please vote Michelle Hutchins, June 5th. Thank you.
Thank you. Our first question, for which each candidate will have 1 minute to respond, can you give us a job description for the County Superintendent of Schools position? And we will start with Michelle.
I have that. As I meet people around the county, it's interesting how many do not understand the role of the county office. The first question I receive usually asks if I'm going to be replacing Deb Kubin or Mark Westenberg, which I first quickly explain that I'm not. The second question I get is, will I be their boss? Again, when the answer is no, the person is very confused as to what it is that I am actually running for in order to do. So the Office of the County Superintendent of Schools was established in 1879, and it evolved with the growing needs of schools and students. There are 58 county superintendents in the state, with 53 being elected and 5 being appointed. The functions include educating special education students and disenfranchised youth, monitoring and oversight of school districts, academic environment and fiscal stability, and direct service to small school districts and academic support and assistance.
Thank you.
That was pretty good. I have something on my website that sounds almost similar to that. But I think that what we really need to do is look at what the county office does. First of all, the superintendent of the county is in charge of all special education. All special education funds are filtered through the county office. Secondly, the county office has the role of monitoring budgets, each district's budgets, and they also have the monitoring system of the local accountability plan that each district has. So those are the 3 main things that they do, is those things. But they're also in charge of creating an alternative education plan. They're also in charge of grants that go through. So there's multiple things that the county office superintendent does beyond whatever the boilerplate does sorry, I had a little brain problem there, but the boilerplate from that you get on the website. So there's a lot of things that they do, and communication is one. Oops, sorry, stop and smile.
Thank you. Our next question is, what is your management style? And we'll start with Bryan.
Okay, so my management style is very collaborative. Recently, we've been talking a lot in our school district on leading from the middle, where you're getting information from the people that are actually working with folks and things, and getting information with them, including them in the process, and then making sure that your process is collaborative. That's the kind of thing I will bring to the superintendency. I am not a top-down person. I work with people. I think that's part of the way that I have developed good relationships with everybody that I've worked with. Even in difficult times, I continue to get endorsed by the Teachers Association and the CSEA associations, because I'm working with people, engaging them in the process. So very collaborative is my leadership style.
Thank you. When I moved into being a school district superintendent, I realized that there's often times when you have to be courageous enough to make unpopular decisions. Oftentimes, those unpopular decisions are keeping the best interest of the student and the taxpayer in mind. It's not easy to convince people that change is necessary when good enough is institutionalized. Most people believe in what they do. Otherwise, they wouldn't do it. Institutional change is often hung up on individual change, and in a small town, these things can be magnified. What I do with my employees is I work with the evaluative process. We set and establish goals at the beginning of the year, and we work together towards meeting those goals by the end of the year. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question focuses on career tech education, commonly referred to as CTE. With career tech education funding recently shifting to local districts, what would be your vision of Mendocino County Office of Education's role in ensuring that youth in our most rural communities have access to quality vocational education opportunities? Do you favor vocational training in our schools? And we will start with Michelle.
So thank you. That question is worded very well. It is true that our regional occupational program and our career technical education monies have shifted from the county office to the local school districts. This creates a problem with tiny little districts such as Anderson Valley, which I think our amount of Carl Perkins money, which is what's one of the funds that supports career technical ed, is about $5,000. It's really important that we shift to personalized learning countywide, that we start to individualize learning so that students have relevance to what they're learning. That is why career technical education programs throughout the county have been so successful, because they're relevant. And so we need to bring that relevance to every child. And the way to do that, or to spread that access, basically, is to use more electronic resources to be able to pipe kids into the larger schools that have the career technical education. I have to stop and smile. Thank you.
I'm a CTE guy. I went to high school, and I took auto mechanics, I took welding, and it was part of what helped me get through school. I really enjoyed it. So am I a believer in CTE? Yes. It's something that we have to have, because not everybody's going to go to college, but everybody needs to be employable and be able to get a job when they get out of school. That is really important. So, do I believe in CTE? Yes. How do we help out these small districts? And again, the funding has changed, but how do we help out these small districts? We help them out by working with places like the community college. How can we work with them to get classes into some of these smaller areas, and then they can get college credit and get high school credit at the same time, and get a career at the same time also. So CTE, yes, very important.
Thank you. The next question In what areas does the County Office of Education provide services and/or support to the districts in the county? And then added on to this was a question from the audience specific to arts and music. Does the county have a role to support funding for arts and music in our schools?
Okay, it's my turn, right?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so yes, the county supports school districts in different ways. We talked about special education where the county office supports school districts, the small rural districts, in special education through professional development and sometimes direct services. The county office supports districts with finance and budgets. Very important for some of the small districts. Human resources. A lot of the smaller districts don't have a human resources department. So those are some areas that they help. They also have grants. We talked about some of the positive behavior grants the other night, but they have a grant for positive behavior that they're going around and talking to districts. In arts and music, there are supports, just like with the county science fair and mock trial, that can be supported with arts and music also, events. Sorry.
Could you repeat the question?
Sure. In what areas does the County Office of Education provide services and/or support to the districts in the county? And does the county have a role to support funding for arts and music, or to bring funding to arts and music in the schools?
Okay, thank you. So yes, the county supports districts in fiscal, teacher development, academic support, and also in school board training, which is an area that I would like to see our county develop more of. An example of how the county office supports our small rural districts is recently we have a new law that's requiring teacher librarians be in all of our schools. That's going to be very difficult for our most rural schools, especially schools 500 and less, 500 students and less, needing to support a full-time teacher librarian. So to have the county office employ a teacher librarian makes sense, and then farm those services out to the rural, more littler schools. Would be another example of how the county office can provide direct support to those smaller districts.
Thank you.
And art and music. I am an art teacher. I did bring back drama music to the secondary level in Anderson Valley when I became superintendent. So yes, there is a responsibility, I believe, for the county office to bring that to the local schools.
What are the biggest problems facing Mendocino County schools? Is retaining and recruiting teachers specifically an issue for our county? And we'll start with Michelle.
Okay, so right now Sonoma County has the North Coast School of Education where they're working to educate people with a bachelor's degree to complete their education. Partnering with Sonoma County Office of Education is already underway with Mendocino County Office of Education. So obviously we would want to increase to develop that path, accessing funding from the state that helps our classified employees access that education to become a teacher will also be beneficial in terms of bringing new teachers on. We do need to grow our own. In terms of recruiting teachers in Anderson Valley, we've done a process where we have tiered our supports for our teachers. So our teachers most at risk at leaving the profession get the most support, and our teachers less risk get a little less support. We also have developed programs that allow teachers that live far away to have a place to stay in town through energizing our women's service club. Thank you.
So yes, one of the biggest problems we have is recruitment and retainment of our teachers for a couple different reasons. Number one, it's difficult geographically because we have to commute down to Sonoma State currently to get a teaching credential, or the Sonoma County Office of Education to do that. There is a teacher education program or credentialing program, but it's for special education with Mendocino Office of Education. We didn't take that one jump further to make it for multiple subject or single subject. Single subject is very difficult right now for replacing our math teachers. I think we have 6 openings in Ukiah Unified. I know probably countywide there's 10 openings for credentialed math teachers. So yes, we need to have recruitment and retainment. Recruitment is, we just talked about. Retainment has to do with salaries. And, you know, we're asking our new people here to come to Mendocino County and teach, grab a roommate, and pay super expensive rent to get here. So it's hard to get people in Mendocino County to teach. Thank you.
Thank you. The county superintendent is responsible for approving a district's local control accountability plan, commonly known as its LCAP. What do you consider or look for when trying to determine whether a district's LCAP is adequate to warrant approval?
That's me this time, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so yes, the one of the significant jobs that the superintendent has is approving and monitoring the LCAP. And the LCAP has different areas involved in it. Academic, it has to do with making sure that there's involvement and community involvement. So the academic portion of it, are you making your goals that you're setting? Are you putting down resources in your goals and meeting that with your assessment data? Those are all important things that you would work with a superintendent on, and making sure that the money that they're getting is going towards their goals and they're accomplishing their goals with the monitoring they're doing with the assessments. So yes, that's what the job of the superintendent does with the LCAP.
Okay, so the Local Control Accountability Plan is basically a compliance document for local school districts. So the things that a school superintendent would look at, or a county superintendent would look at, was whether or not it met the requirements of the state. Do your unduplicated pupils receive appropriate services where you will see that they will be making growth? Are you meeting the state priorities and addressing the 8 state priorities that are required in the LCAP? Are you addressing your local priorities? There are 4 local priorities that a school district must also address. And then what is the stakeholder engagement process that the district went through, and is that well represented? It's fairly rudimentary. It's a compliance document, but it is a large job that does take up a considerable amount of time. Thank you.
Thank you. What can you do to keep charter schools from becoming elitist in who they choose as students?
I'm glad you have that one first.
Wow. Well, you know, charter schools are they are necessary, I believe, in such rural places as our county. Our current school districts struggle, especially the smaller ones, in providing a broad array of services to meet all of the community members that they need to serve. As our schools transition to more student-led and personalized learning, that need to rely on charter schools will lessen. So I believe that your solution really works within working with your local school district to be able to broaden those services by personalized learning, and I do have an articulated plan to do that for this county. But in its current state, it's working with those charter schools to mimic the demographics of what their local districts are handling as well. Thank you.
So I believe charter schools fill a need in a community. I think that they are there and they're successful because there's a need to have them there. And I think charter schools make public schools better schools. When we look back at when the charter schools moved into the Ukiah Unified area, we were really in competition, and it made us become better schools because of that. I think they fulfill a need. How do we keep them demographically the same as a school district? Well, that's one of the requirements that they have. They're supposed to be demographically the same and meet the same standards as the demographically that the district has.
Thank you. So I've put together these two questions related to local school boards. How would you support local school boards, and can local school boards handle the functions currently handled by the County Office of Ed?
No. A school board could not handle the functions of the County Office of Education. And how we support school boards is in a couple of different ways. Again, we talked about the LCAP. So making sure that school boards are understanding of the LCAP and what the rules are, making sure they're setting their goals the right way and working with the superintendent. The other thing I think is really important is making sure that we're putting on workshops in governance. Putting on workshops in governance, I think specifically by school board or retired ex-school board members, making them sure that, or making the school board members for sure know their role and responsibility. It's really important. It's a really tough job. My mom is ex-president of our school board and current school board member of Ukiah Unified, and I've seen her go through these painful, decisions that they have to make. It's a very difficult job, so I think workshops are a very important role that the county office can provide for the school boards. Thank you.
I agree with my opponent that the local district school boards could not replace the role of the County Office of Education. The role of the county office in working with local school boards, as I see it, is assisting superintendents in training their school boards. That school board training needs to happen after the person is elected, before they take the seat. Currently, our County Office of Education provides training that starts in January, which is a month and a half after the person takes the seat. That training needs to happen right after that election in November. I believe that the school board training needs to be provided by the California School Boards Association and not just retired school board members, as it's imperative that school board members receive quality training to learn their role, to avoid special interests and other things that can happen to a local school board. Stop and smile.
Thank you. We have time for one last question before we have closing remarks. And again, I'm going to try to put these two together. I think they connect. So the question is, how do you view MCOE's role serving alternative education youth countywide? Do you believe MCOE's role should be reduced or expanded? And is there a connection between what I've just mentioned about serving alternative education youth with decentralizing services offered by the county office?
It is difficult for an expelled youth living in Anderson Valley to access the services in Ukiah. You can provide services to youth, however, using an independent study mode, which would decentralize the services, so you could have regional centers in the other parts of the county, which would better serve our expelled youth. Our expelled youth do have difficulty accessing those resources. A charter school could also meet the functions of expelled youth. So that is something that could be, if the county wished, removed from the County Office of Education. But I believe that when you're working with alternative youth, you need to inspire them in a way to get them involved with solving problems with your local community. When you do that, you see a transition occur in the student that is very strong and really can transform that student into being a productive citizen. But again, they need to be involved in solving problems that are local to their community. Thank you.
So the alternate education of the Mendocino County office looks at basically two forms. One is special education, which is a direct service. So special education is an alternate to the standard in some cases, standard education. And secondary is the students that struggle with maintaining a regular education. So those are the expelled youth. Those could be those youth that are in jail. Also, those are, we do have a jail school currently in Mendocino County. So those are the two areas. I don't necessarily think that they could be decentralized. I think the services, it would be a great cost to decentralize it. It would be wonderful if we just said, let's decentralize things, but there's always a cost to decentralizing. And in this case, there would be a definite cost to having a place for a classroom for expelled youth all over the county. So I'm stopping and smiling.
Thank you so much. With the time we have left, a minute and a half for closing statements. And Michelle, could you start us off?
As a principal, I learned effective strategies to work with families and students. I gained experience in mentoring teachers and helped students to think expansively about their futures. Decisions were always shared with the central office. When I was promoted to superintendent, I learned there was much more complexity to the position. The job requires the courage to make and enforce unpopular decisions, and when in a small town, you can become the subject of personal agendas. The school superintendent is a position of wide influence, ever-changing, demanding, and key to the success of a district. Statistically, the tenure of school superintendents continues to decrease, with the average now being 2.5 years. And often the position comes without support and on-the-job training. Understanding the wide and varied skill set essential for superintendents to succeed, I am focused on providing the resources needed to fully support the challenges of the job of the superintendent. In most of our communities, we are finding a shortage of people willing to run for school board. For example, in the town of Mendocino, the last 6 election cycles had a potential for 30 elected seats. All but 6 of those were appointed or ran unopposed. I am dedicated to educating about the importance and purpose of local boards to increase participation and ensure school boards are not overrun by interests and represent all views of the community. I have an articulated, innovative vision for our county schools that will prepare students for the complex world of today. Thank you. I'm out of time.
Once again, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to express my goals and ideals at the forum today. I will always consider myself a teacher, no matter what position I hold in education. It's really about the kids. It's this that keeps my focus. My goals for the position of superintendent reflect it's about kids. We need to provide a local and inexpensive way to get teachers credentialed. We need to get the best practices through professional development to teachers to improve reading and math scores. And we need to help districts improve attendance rates by positive reinforcement and localized student attendance review boards. We need to work together with local law enforcement and plan and drill for emergencies for safer schools. It's about kids. You've heard differences today between my opponent and myself. When voting, I want you to know I don't need to win this election. I have a great job and great relationships with those I work with. I will make close to the same amount of money as the MCOE superintendent of schools. So it's not a pay raise. As a matter of fact, I will lose benefits if elected. I'm running because I was asked to run and supported by mentors and people I respect. And I have the desire to serve my community. I have a scope of experience to be successful as a superintendent. I've worked with large budgets, have successful relationships with people I work with. There are differences in how my opponent and I lead. I lead from the middle, collaboratively. I am not a top-down leader. I believe in giving employees the support to be successful to make sure they're included in goals and improvement. I want to bring my leadership style to MCOE. Leadership matters. Positive leadership matters more. Thank you.
Thank you so much.